So, today is kind of a special episode because the movie trilogy I will be talking about today is one that I know from my childhood. Cats and Dogs. I remember Cats and Dogs actually being called Cats versus Dogs. I don't know where that came from because I could not find any evidence that it was ever called that anywhere except for this one guy on Reddit. And maybe it's just some kind of a weird Mandela effect that only affected me and that one random person on Reddit, but okay. The movies are actually called Cats ampersand Dogs. There are three Cats and Dogs movies in total. The first one simply being called Cats and Dogs, the second one, Cats and Dogs, The Revenge of Kitty Galore, and the third one, Cats and Dogs 3, Paws Unite. The first one came out all the way in 2001, and the second one 9 years after that in 2010, and the third one 10 years after that one in 2020. Looking at this, we can assume that a fourth movie will be coming in 2031, but hopefully not, because
Wasn't your dad a musician?
He is a musician.
And it never actually stops. Always there, watching us.
I'll go check it out and maybe grab a drumstick.
I've seen the first two movies plenty of times because I used to love these movies as a kid. The third one wasn't out when I was a kid, so I hadn't seen that one before. And I really wish I hadn't seen it now either. Just to make it clear, the first two movies are masterpieces of cinema. The third one, on the other hand, not so much. So, just to give you a heads up, these movies are about dog agents, like spies. The first Cats and Dogs movie begins with a dog chasing a cat. It's a very Tom and Jerry-like scene. If Tom was a dog and Jerry was a cat, it's silly, it's goofy, it's charming. I like the way how they leaned into the goofiness in this first movie. The dog is catnapped, and that's not what I'm calling it. That's what the movie calls it. They call it catnapping when a cat kidnaps someone. And that is the inciting incident for this film. This dog is Butch. He's not like a masculine lesbian or anything. That's just his name. His name is Butch. He witnesses it, the dog being catnapped, and he immediately contacts the DOG headquarters because Butch is an agent, is a dog agent, and his mission is to fight cats. And dog is a secret spy organization. This movie's cast is absolutely nuts. We have Jeff Goldblum, Tobey Maguire, you stupid. Alec Baldwin, Sean Hayes, and Elizabeth Perkins. I probably missed some cool names, but those are just some examples. The second movie also has a crazy good cast, but just, I won't mention that later. Just save some time. Now we meet the main character of the movie. He is a beagle puppy, and he's played by, or he's voiced by Spider-Man the First, Tobey Maguire. He doesn't want to be adopted because he doesn't want to have a boring house life. He wants to do something exciting, something crazy. He takes up this example of the Russian space dog Laika, and someone should really tell him what happened to Laika because you really don't want to be like Laika. Sorry to kind of ruin the mood here, but if you don't know the story, Laika, they tried to send a dog to space, and for the longest time they thought Laika died in orbit like a couple weeks later, which would have been horrible. But in truth, Laika died just a couple hours after takeoff out of overheating and panic. Which, yeah, you would panic if you were a dog and had no idea what was going on, and suddenly you were in a rocket going like 1,000 miles an hour shooting into space. What were they thinking? It was tragic. So these agent dogs need to infiltrate the household that the dog that was kidnapped from for some reason for agent stuff. And so they replace these beagle puppies with different breed. I wrote down here that they are Dobermans, but I'm not a breed expert. I don't know. But Toby Maguire was hiding under a thing, so he didn't get changed. So now it's these Doberman and one beagle puppy. And when the person who is getting the puppy comes, they are of course going to pick the beagle puppy because they came here for a beagle. And I'm not a dog expert, but I think dogs don't usually change breed when they're puppies. Thus, when Toby gets to the house that he got adopted into, Butch thinks he's the new agent. This family is weird, by the way. The dad is like a crazy scientist who is like too busy for family because he's always doing experiments in his secret lab. And the son, the son is fucking mean. He's an evil child because immediately when he sees Lou, he wants to name him Loser because he hates Lou. He despises this puppy. And after him saying that this dog is a loser, the mother decides to name him Lou, like short for loser. Why would you name your dog short for loser? That's so mean. That is so mean. The dad is apparently working on a cure for dog allergies. Now, Lou gets introduced to Butch's agent team. We have Peak, who's this super tech whiz. He's the tech guy. He knows all about the tech. There's Sam. He's this goofy guy who thinks he's always being stealthy, even though he's not. He's just goofing around. And then there's Butch, who is the grumpy leader. He's like an older dog. Now we're introduced to the main villain of this movie. This is Mr. Tinklestein, mostly called Mr. Tinkles, though, throughout the story. He is an amazing villain, by the way. He's a cat that wants to take over the world. He is like a cat fascist. You'll see more proof of that later on. Butch explains some very important lore now, so listen close. Apparently, in ancient Egypt, cats were kind of seen as gods. And apparently, this was because the cats had taken over and enslaved the humans and ruled over with an iron fist as gods to the humans. And then at the end of ancient Egypt, the dogs rose up and fought for the humans, taking down the cats and becoming kind of these protectors of humans. Me personally, I have named this period of time the First Feline Canine War. Currently in modern day, the relationship between cats and dogs is very kind of Cold War-like. There's high tensions, but not like an outright war going on. Rising threats of radical felinism is all over. Mr. Tinkle sends these horrifying flying cat ninjas to Lou's house to kill Lou and steal the dad's science experiments. That is going to be important later. So Lou needs to fight these horrifying cat agents who move like demons. It's terrifying. The animation is kind of horrendous, but it was brilliant for 2001. I do want to mention this because it's going to be a recurring theme in these movies, but how are they doing that? They don't have opposable thumbs. They're animals, they have paws. Lou is severely beat up, which wakes up the family, which makes the cats leave. Then we meet Ivy. She's a stray, and apparently Butch's ex. She does something in this movie. I wonder why Butch and Ivy broke up. He probably humped the wrong leg, probably, I guess. Scott. That's the name of the kid, by the way. The mean one who wanted to name Lou Loser. Has a big football game coming. Or soccer, if you're one of those people. Who am I kidding? It's football. Sorry, Americans. It's football. It's the game where you kick a ball with your foot. That's football. I think that's more deserving of the name than a game where you run around with a misshapen egg in your hand. Anyways, his dad was supposed to come to his big game, but he was too busy with his science experimentationisms. So he missed it. And Scott is devastated, understandably so. That was really mean of the dad to do, even though he wasn't trying to do that. And Lou tries to cheer him up by playing some ball with him. I guess this is where the Stockholm Syndrome is starting to kick in to Lou, because holy fuck, this kid is mean to Lou. The mom brings home a kitten that she found on the street, and this kitten turns out to be the Russian, which is a spy sent by Mr. Tinkles to also kill Lou. The Russian is also like Rico from the Penguins of Madagascar, because he can like throw up different tools and weapons for himself to use. Is like doing the thing where cats, cough up fur balls, but he's coughing up weapons. It's kind of cool. One of them being a pile of poop that he blames on Lou to get the family to say bad words to him. I've now mentioned poop in the last 3 videos I've made. I really hope this doesn't become a trend. He also coughs up a bomb, but then he get crushed.
Lou! Stay in the compound.
And they defeat the Russian. After torturing the Russian for some information, they get a clue. Mr. Tinkle's owner is Mr. Mason. He's rich. He lives in a mansion and is also on his deathbed. So Mr. Tinkles uses him to get into this factory that he owns, and he fires everyone pretending to be Mr. Mason, and because he needs to use this place for his evil plans. And now here we kind of do find out that the animals are actually able to communicate with humans. They're able to speak English, but later on, or at some point, we find out that they do have like an unspoken rule within their community that is always respected, where they're not allowed to speak in front of humans or reveal that they can speak English or reveal anything of their lives, like their incredible technology, for example. Then Lou and the kid accidentally destroy all of the dad's science experiments, and it does lead to an accidental breakthrough, which means the dad has now the cure for dog allergies. He did it. He made the cure. And now also the family wins tickets for this football game, big football game, and they're going to want to go watch it, so they go. But this was actually a ruse set up by Mr. Tinkles, where he actually catnaps the family and imprisons them in the factory he's at. We also find out that Mr. Tinkles is actually trying to steal the dad's science experiments so he can reverse the research and make a poison that will actually make everyone really allergic to dogs, which would make dogs undesirable, and then cats could rule over the world. And now Lou is taken to the dog headquarters. They have this like underground super quick train tunnel thing, like what Elon Musk wanted to make but was too stupid to actually make. The HQ is this huge underground facility. It's actually kind of cool. Nothing really of note happens here, but it's just cool. It's an awesome place. And they also have this dog news where this dog news reporter, it's awesome. There's this dog news reporter, Wolf Blitzer, who's just a picture on screen. He doesn't move or anything, but he's supposed to be the news reporter. I love it. It's great. I would watch the dog news. So Lou takes the research to Mr. Tinkles in hopes of getting his family back in return, but instead he just beats up Lou and takes the research for himself. This is like kind of like JoJo's, but just the dogs don't die, they just get beat up. Butch goes to help Lou and the phone rings and cat calls.
You should smile more.
No, but Mr. Tinkles does call over the phone.
How many dogs does it take to overthrow mankind?
And reveals his evil plans to them. Then he also reveals his evil plans to the family he has kidnapped, and reveals that cats can actually talk. And the son thinks it's really cool.
Oh, but I've nothing to hide.
But the mom is so horrified, it's nuts. Then Tinkles tries to kill them by setting the room on fire. Now, earlier I said Mr. Tinkles was a cat fascist. Here we finally see some proof of that. Because I was not kidding. He's a full-on fascist. Just look at this.
In just hours, every human in the world will be allergic to dogs. But such a mammoth plot requires brothers in arms. And this is where my genius truly comes to pass.
So he has an army of mice that are going to spread the poison throughout the world. But now all the dog agents appear and they start fighting. They close the door to the sewers. They fight all around. And like Lou goes to save his owners. And Mr. Tinkles tries to kill Butch. But Lou saves him just in time. Lou and Tinkles fight. Tinkles is sprayed with water, and because in these movies, Cat's biggest weakness is water, that is able to defeat him, and the building blows up from the water? I'm not exactly sure why the building blows up. There's not really anything that blowy-uppy in the building. But I do like how the building blows up. It has this kind of cartoony effect on it. It's like cool how they made the kind of look like how the roof kind of popped off and the thing. I like it. I think the setting, the set piece looks really cool. But Lou was in the building. He's dead now. And Butch carries his lifeless body out of the building. R.I.P. loser. Just kidding. He wakes up and talks English to the kid. But only to the kid. Only the kid knows that dogs can speak English. Actually, no. The whole family does because Mr. Tinkles revealed it to them. But still, they probably don't tell anyone. All of the mice are arrested, and Mr. Tinkles is sent to live with the maid of Mr. Mason, whose sisters and her really love to dress him up. So he's probably going crazy in there. And there's some proof of that in the next movie. And the movie's over. Good movie. It's good movie. I enjoying did it on the movie. It's goodings. Yeah. And It's not just the nostalgia, I promise you. But it only gets better from here with the next movie, The Revenge of Kitty Galore. Cats and Dogs, The Revenge of Kitty Galore begins in northern Germany at a satellite dish station working their place. A person comes to work, finds a little tiny lost puppy, and takes it inside. But as it turns out, this was actually this hairless cat that was just dressed up as a dog, and she steals something important. So that's Kitty Galore, by the way. That's the main villain. First, I thought this puppy would be a traitor, a fucking species traitor, but no, it was just an evil cat. Then we get introduced to the main character of this movie. It's this police canine called Diggs, who uh, blows up a building in the first scene. And this leads him to be sent to the kennels once again. Lou has risen up the ranks in dog and has become some kind of a leader, has gotten some kind of a leadership role, and he really wants to hire Diggs, even though he blows up buildings. He says he's a horrible police dog, but would be a good agent, and I don't know. I feel like those skill sets kind of go in hand. Anyways, Butch picks Diggs up from the kennels and takes him to the dog headquarters through the Elon Musk trains again. Also, in dog headquarters, there are these dogs playing poker. Art reference. Lou gives Diggs and Butch a mission to retrieve this pigeon called Seamus, who knows something about Kitty Galore because they need to take down Kitty Galore. So Kitty Galore's plan is to make this evil sound that would make the dogs go crazy and undesirable, so that humans would get rid of their dogs as they would be crazy. You're acting crazy right now. What? What is gaslighting? What have those friends been telling you? That's not real. And Kitty's building a giant satellite to make this sound reverberate throughout the world. It doesn't take long for the dogs to find Seamus, but there's also this cat who's after Seamus. And they fight. Seamus flies away, prompting the cat to fly after him.
I gotta fly!
Hey, whoa!
Yeah. I'll believe it when dogs fly. After all of them crash into a park, they have Seamus. Seamus has an injured wing now. They torture and interrogate the cat. There's quite a bit of torturing in these movies, which is interesting to say the least. And we find out that the cat is not actually working for Kitty Galore, but she's an agent at Meows, which is this spy organization that's made up of cats that do the same thing as dogs. Her name is Catherine, Catherine. Cat. She also enlightens us with Kitty Galore's Joker backstory. And I quite literally mean Joker backstory. It's the same backstory as Joker had in the 80s movies. So, Kitty Galore used to have a luscious, full body of fur. But one day, she fell into a vat of acid and all of her hair fell out. And she looked ugly now. So her family kicked her out on the streets and she became evil. Oh, and also her name used to be Ivana Clawyu. She just changed it to Kitty Galore after that backstory. Yeah, Ivana Clawyu. Now that is a drag name if I've ever heard one. Well, to be honest, Kitty Galore is also a pretty good drag name. While the animals talk about this, there's this kid that walks past them, and they gotta pretend they don't know what's happening. And one time, because she keeps going past them, Seamus gets annoyed at it and yells at the kid. So now this kid knows that animals can speak, and this kid kind of appears every now and then in this movie, but she's always witnessing the animals doing something really unanimal, and as she's like the only one noticing this, so I really must think because she always goes to like mom, mom. I bet her mom thinks she's crazy. I bet her mom thinks she has some mental issues. Maybe I shouldn't say crazy. That's problematic. But yeah, her family probably thinks she has some mental issues. I really hope she isn't institutionalized because she's actually like fully sane. So now Dog and Meows, both the organizations, they decide to work together to take down Kitty Galore because they have a common enemy in Kitty Galore. So this is a big moment for the animal world because cats and dogs have been in this petty rivalry for thousands of years. And this really started to mend their relationships within this world. Now Butch, Diggs, Catherine, and Seamus, they go to this cat lady's house to try to get some information on Kitty Galore. And this is a funny scene because all of the cats there are like high. They are stoner cats. They are so high. The catnip addiction in United States has like truly gotten out of hand. Like look at these crackheads.
Hey, it's like a bunch of dogs, man. Awesome.
But one of the cats is actually sending Kitty some technical parts that she needs to build her thing. So they do get something out of this trip as they get some information from this cat. For their next clue, the gang travels to Alcatraz, where there's actually an underground secret prison for animals, or maybe just cats, because there's only cats there. And
Mr. Tinkles.
Mr. Tinkles! Mr. Tinkles is back. My favorite villain. I actually cannot decide who I like more, Mr. Tinkles or Kitty Galore. They're both amazing villains. I love the villains in these two first movies. They are brilliant. Yeah, so Mr. Tinkles is like Hannibal. It's a reference to that movie, Sons of the Lambs. If Mr. Tinkles is Hannibal, then does that mean Kitty Galore is Buffalo Bill? Because one thing I know, that thing should definitely put the lotion on its skin. Next, Kitty sends these two Scottish cat assassins after the gang. They fight on a boat, and the dogs win, whatever. Or I guess it's not the dogs, cat, and pigeon. And Diggs is kicked off the team by Butch. So Catherine takes him to the Meows headquarters, where they have this full-on cat tank that says "Puss" on it. Now that's funny. That is hilarious. I love that. The Puss tank. They immediately figure out where Kitty Galore is, so they start going there. So she lives at this like fun place. It's like this fair kind of thing, and her owner is a magician there. There, Diggs and Cat, short for Catherine, get caught and like chained up over that of water by Kitty Galore and her henchman Paws. So while they're hanging there, Catherine actually overcomes her debilitating fear of water and saves Diggs. Then the rest of the dogs arrive, but Kitty is already ready to blast the crazy sound from the satellite. They fight up there, and they are able to push the big red button, but really they just turned it on. They were trying to turn it off, but they just turned it on. So now the sound is blasting somewhere in the world. So the idea is the satellite like targets all machines and stuff, and they start making the sound. And then they fight. We find out that Kitty's henchman, Paws, is actually just a robot. They fight on the satellite dish, and then Diggs makes Paws destroy the satellite dish, and Kitty Galore is shot up into space. Just kidding. Shot up and into some, what's it called? You know, that sugar stuff that you eat in fairs, whatever. She's covered in it, and everyone thinks this all was the magician's show, and they applaud and they think it was awesome. And now the magician has some recognition again, which he was missing. Oh, I just figured out what the candy's called. Cotton candy. Here, Kitty Galore is really serving cotton candy realness. Sachet, you'll stay. Now, Kitty Galore, sachet away. Diggs is finally adopted by the cop who he was partners with, and everything is all good, except we do find out that Mr. Tinkles escaped and is on a beach somewhere. So that's awesome. This movie, by far, is my favorite out of these three. It is so referential. There's a lot of references that are just fun to spot. And the villains, oh my god. The villains are amazing. Kitty Galore was such an amazing addition into this series. She's such an intriguing villain. And then, even on top of that, they like built upon what they already had from Mr. Tinkles and made him an even more compelling villain that he already was in the first movie. Oh, so brilliant. The villains definitely carried this movie, but I love everything about this movie. If you're a if you have kids, make them watch this movie. It's really good. I loved it when I was a kid. I know that much. Okay, let me read a couple of my notes about the third and final movie. What is happening? Oh my god, I don't care. What the fuck? Oh my god, please stop. I don't care. What the fuck? Please piss yourself. The last one was kind of weird one, but you'll see later. This movie begins by expanding the lore a little bit. They tell us that 30,000 years ago, dogs became friends with humans, and 15,000 years ago, cats entered into the picture. And also, the rivalry between cats and dogs has been mended by this movie. After the second movie, the organizations Meows and Dogs continued to work together and eventually merged into this new organization called Fart. Yeah, it's called Fart. For fuck's sake. The main characters of this movie are Roger and Gwen. Roger's owner is this kid whose mom is like borderline abusive. They never really acknowledge it, but the mom is like so bad because she is forcing her kid to only practice tennis all the time because she cannot accept that that child could be bad at tennis. He has to be the best. Forces him to eat gross, really healthy foods, just not have fun at all. She's ripping his childhood away from him, essentially. This whole movie felt really weird and odd to me. It had this really kind of weird, like, aesthetic to it. This very kind of felt like it was made in a lab a little bit. The lighting was really kind of uh boring, and the lack of color grading and the shots were really bland. And eventually I figured out what it was. This movie feels like a Darman video. I'm not kidding. It feels like a Darman video. The really, like, kind of, when I'm saying clean aesthetic, I don't mean like that's clean. I mean like it's sanitized. Like it feels like what hospital lights feel like. The characters being these kind of over the top, kind of badly acted. I don't really want to blame the actors too much, but uh, they're like, the mom is this like kind of a character of being like super overbearing and like kind of comically overbearing, and it's like a Darman video. It's just like a Darman video. This whole movie is an hour 20-minute Darman video. I wonder if the mom's gonna instantly regret it. My God. Anyways, Gwen's owner is Zoe. Her dad is like a washed up musician. He used to be famous, apparently. He said he sold like 20 million albums, which is pretty impressive. But now he's like washed up and can't make music, and everything's like kind of. He's, they're about to be kicked out of the house for not being able to pay their bills. The villain of this movie is this cockatoo named fucking Pedro, I think. Yeah, probably. I don't care about this movie, so I wouldn't know. And his plan is essentially the exact same as Kitty Galore's. He wants to make this evil sound go all around the world that will make dogs and cats this time as well, go crazy, so people will have to choose parrots. It's so stupid. They just couldn't come up with a new plot apparently, so they just went with the same one. Why was this movie made? They are ruining the good name of cats and dogs. The fucking Gwen and Roger, they need to take down Pedro, so uh, they need to hire a new agent for Fart, and they hire this guy Duke. Um, Dookie. I just came up with that myself. Dookie. I'm funny. Um, Duke doesn't talk much or at all until the end of the movie. Whatever. I'll tell you later. He's supposed to be their muscle, the tough guy. This movie also hates fish for some reason. They keep hating on fish, which sucks. I like fish. What do you have against fish, guys? I think the fish should rise up and take over the world. One funny thing about this movie. They voiced over that bark. What? The dog was barking in the video. Just use that audio. You have audio of the dog barking? Just use that. You don't need to make a human imitate a barking noise to voice over an actual bark. You can just use the bark. Also, in this movie, they keep talking in front of humans, but they keep not hearing them. And it's not like they forgot that humans can talk to dogs and vice versa. because later on in this movie, animals talk to humans. Pedro talks to this kid at the end of the movie, and they keep talking in front of the humans, but the humans being unaware. It's so annoying. Please be consistent. Anyways, the gang goes to find out more about Pedro. So they go to this alley to find these alley cats who have a Tesla, and then they mention Elon Musk. Oh my god! Can I go anywhere without having to hear about this fucking guy? I just want to escape him. Oh my god, I don't care! Gwen's and Roger's owners are like lonely or something, so they steal their phones and trap them in an elevator together so they would, I guess, become friends. Also, this movie has a weird anti-phone messaging thing behind it too. It's like, don't be on your phones, be doing talking. Yeah, whatever. I don't care anymore. And here is where the Rogers owner really needs to go pee. Please piss yourself. See? It came back. I told you it was going to be relevant. But literally, when I was watching this scene, all I could think was, please pee yourself. That would have made the movie so much better if he just pissed himself in the elevator. But he doesn't. They get out just as they're about to kiss. I don't care. And he gets to go to the bathroom. And I was so pissed. I was so pissed. I wanted him to piss himself so bad. Then the gang figures out where Pablo is, and they go there. This final showdown commences. Pablo's Pablo's team, Pablo's guys. They're like these secondary pets. There's like a tarantula, some lizards, and that kind of pets, and they fight. And then this kid comes in who shows is like likes pop. This kid likes Pablo and shows affection towards Pablo, which turns Pablo good. But the lizard that is with Pablo, it stays evil. So then Pablo is good now, and they turn off the sound that makes cats and dogs go crazy, and then they win. And also, Pablo had this mecha suit of a dog, which was stupid. Yeah. And they trapped the lizard who was evil into the dog mecha, and that lives on with Pablo. And Pablo becomes the kid's pet who showed affection towards him. And also here, Duke talks, and his voice is beautiful. Oh, it's so beautiful.
Nobody hurts my friends, humans.
And they win, whatever. And the movie's over. Thank God. Oh my God, this movie was torture. Even talking about the movie is making me lose my mind. Please go watch the two first Cats and Dogs movies and never watch this one. Never, ever, ever watch the third and final Cats and Dogs film. Please, I've warned you. The third film clearly didn't have the budget that the first two films had. First of all, because there's like no CGI, which was pretty important to the first two films because of all the fighting. This had like no fighting, and there was no cool technology, which was also like one of the most important things of those two first films. The only technology was the dog mecha that Pablo had, which was just a dog that they pretended that was a mech. What else? Yeah, the villain Pablo was such a bad villain. I really didn't care about him. The villains in the two first movies were so compelling, but Pablo was just lame. Also, a show of the budget of this third film is the cast. I don't want to really shit on the cast too much because they're just actors. But the first two movies had stacked cast. The names were huge. I didn't know a single person in this movie, and when I was googling them, this was their biggest film. If you're a big Doorman fan, I guess you'll like this movie probably. Otherwise, fucking please don't go watch this film. Cats and Dogs was an interesting addition to the Ultimate Movie cinematic universe. Its lore definitely expand on the already existing canon of the universe, and as we now know, animals are able to speak English and communicate clearly with humans. But they do have an unspoken rule about never talking to humans, thus humans stay unaware of the dogs and all animals' secret lives. Now, let's go back in time. We have some proper history in this universe to discuss. So now we know 30,000 years ago, dogs became humans' friends. And 15,000 years later, cats entered into the picture. They always had a turbulent relationship, but it really ramped up 13,000 years ago when cats took over in ancient Egypt. They ruled over the humans with an iron fist as gods and essentially enslaved humans. Their rule lasted throughout ancient Egypt until the dogs stood up and saved the humans from enslavement at the end of the ancient Egypt in what I have named the First Feline Canine War. From then on forward, the dogs have protected humans from any such threat, and they formed the secret militant organization DOG in order to protect humans from radical felinism. Their technology was able to surpass even that of the humans because of this kind of Cold War state that the cats and dogs have been for a couple thousand years. Them trying to really overcome the canine threat, always trying to be a step ahead of them. Cat technology also really developed quickly. Meows, the cat spy organization, was also formed here and tasked with the task of protecting humans from animal threats. But due to tensions between cats and dogs, they were unable to work with dog. From then on forward, the tensions between cats and dogs have been extremely high as fear of radical felinism stays rising. In the 21st century, their relationship is extremely Cold War like, but as the dogs stay highly organized, they are able to suffocate the feline threat quite quickly as it rises. Until Kitty Galore, which proves a great threat to human safety. This begins to mend the relationships between cats and dogs as they're forced to work together to take down Kitty Galore, of course. The collaboration between Meows and Dog leads to the organizations eventually merging to form Fart. The tensions cool down, causing the organizations to lighten its budget, as we can see from the lack of cool technology in the third film. So it was really difficult to place this first film on a map, but with the use of the second film, we are able to do just that. Cats and Dogs, The Revenge of Kitty Galore, takes place mostly in San Francisco. Their underground trains are very fast, but seeing how quick they can travel from San Francisco to the dog world headquarters, we can assume that it's not too far, since they are able to get there in assumably just a couple of minutes from their reactions. This helps us place the Dog World HQ somewhere deep underground in California, which helps us place the first movie's location as well, since it is equally as quick to get to the Dog World HQ in that movie, which places the first movie in a rural town somewhere within California. This town is small, rural, and has Christmas tree factory and a stadium somewhere nearby it. And the third film is set in Seattle. Space Needle. Placing the movies on this timeline was an interesting task. Again, I needed to use the second film to place the first one, which was a surprisingly difficult task, as there's no clear indication of a year anywhere within these two first films. But in the second film, we do see a poster for one of Kitty Galore's owner shows, which shows that it's happening on Saturday, July 19th. Looking at which years July 19th fell on a Saturday, we can narrow it down to specific years on the timeline, and then comparing that to the technology and other advancement that humans are using in their daily life in this time, we can assume that this is happening in 2008. So Kitty Galore, The Revenge of Kitty Galore takes place in 2008. And then Lou has puppies and a wife in the second movie. And as Beagle's average having children life stage is from 2 to 7 years old, we can assume he's somewhere around that age. And as Butch is still alive, I would have to assume that they're still Lou is about 3 years old, which would mean that the first movie takes place 3 years prior in 2005. The third film was much easier to place, as we can clearly see a magazine dated January 7th, 2020, from the day of the inciting incident in the movie. These are all the characters. Pause if you're interested. I do want to mention Wolf Blitzer, the dog news reporter that reports all of the dog news. We see him in both the first and second film, but as his news thing is just a picture of him and he's not moving at all, I actually think Wolf Blitzer is dead, and they're just using a picture of Wolf Blitzer to keep the fraudulent notion that Wolf Blitzer is still alive, because he was very liked in the dog community, and they feared that their watching numbers would plummet if they told that Wolf Blitzer is dead. Confirming the Cats and Dogs trilogy's connection to the Ultimate Movie cinematic universe was no challenge. As we can see from these shots from space, we can clearly see that the Earth is round, which it also was shown in Meet Dave, the last movie. And looking at the land masses we can see here from space, this matches the maps we've seen before in the other movies, such as Ghost. For example, we see a map of the United States, and this matches what we see from space here. But if this isn't enough to convince you, I also found the cat Dave kicked in Meet Dave working for Meows on the Kitty Galore case. They were probably transferred from New York due to lack of personnel on the Kitty Galore case in 2008. And now I will do the outro for the video. This is probably the longest video I've made so far. I don't know yet, because this is just me writing the script so far. I wrote that in the script when I was writing the script. Now I'm filming the video. But this is the longest script for sure. So if you watched all the way through, you're here at the end. Thank you. You didn't have to do that. You really didn't have to do that. You're wasting your time, man. But if you are here, so hit that like button if you like the video, and subscribe that subscribe button if you subscribe the video, and comment that comment button if you comment the video. Good night.